let's continue and show another example of how to use shared preferences. If you go back to our activity main, you see we have another button we haven't used yet called Set Color. What I want to do in this one is when I call Set Color, I want to load another activity, another screen, and we're going to save a value and then reference that value in the other activity. First thing, let's right click on App, and we're going to create a new activity, and we want this to be an empty activity. And I'm going to call this Color Activity, and we'll go with the default names and everything else. Go ahead and choose Finish. All right, now we have a color activity. We also have a color activity underscore color main. So let's go in here. And at the moment, this is empty. I don't have anything. So let's add a text view. And let's attach it to the top. And right click. And let's center it horizontally. Whoops, I selected vertically. Just kidding. Let's redo that. Click and drag to create a constraint, and right click and choose center horizontally. That's what I wanted. I want to change this margin so it's a little more padding. And instead of calling this text view 2, let's call this color text view. All right, go back to main activity.java, and here what I want to do is save a shared preference, then launch the next activity. In this case, I am not going to use the local preferences. I want to use a shared preferences, which of course is confusing because everything is called shared preferences. Bear with me and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we have another shared preferences object, and we're going to call this shared preferences equals this dot, and notice the difference is get shared preferences. So up here we said get preferences, but here we're saying get shared preferences. Now when you do get shared preferences, you need a key value that is unique for your activity and or application. In my case, because I'm only sharing this locally within the app, I'm going to just call this my underscore app preferences. Then we pass in the security of this, so we're going to say mode private like we did before. Notice here when we say get preferences mode, we didn't pass in a key because it's assumed that it's related to this class. But here we're saying my app preferences is unique to my application, and I'm referencing it in other places. You can have multiple shared preference objects. You just need to know what the key is and reference the key accordingly. In this case, because it's very simple, I'm saying my app preferences. If you were doing something that referenced an app preference that was shared with other apps, let's say you have multiple applications that you're deploying and you want to have a shared preferences file across all of them, you would use your reverse domain because you want to make sure this key is unique. You would also change the mode to a different mode. I believe it would be mode underscore, it's going to be like world. Well, it looks like that's changed. Anyway, you can look that up. I'm not going to worry about that here. But for our purposes, we're just dealing with shared preferences within our application. Okay, once I have that, then I need to get a reference to the editor. So again, it's the same idea where we say capital editor, and then we have this editor equals SharedPreferences.edit. And then finally, I'm going to save my string. It's the same process that we did before. I'm going to say put string. And for this one, I'm just going to go with favorite underscore color. And then I'm going to set the value. Now in this case, I'm just going to go with my favorite color is blue, and we'll do editor, dot apply, and we're good. You can of course extract this as a string resource, which you should, but I'm not going to because you already know how. Now, after I've saved this, then I want to launch the other activity. We do that with an intent, of course. We've done this before. Intent equals new intent, and then we reference this as the context, and then it's color activity. Whoops. I pressed tab too quickly, and it imported this thing, and I don't need that, so I'm going to delete that. Color activity dot class. Okay, then I'm just going to say start activity intent. Awesome. Now, once we launch the activity, let's go to our color activity class. When we launch the activity, what I want then is to do what we've already done before, which is up here back in the main activity. You notice that we get a reference to the say preferences, and we set it to our key. Well, we do the same thing in our color activity. First, let's go with shared preferences object. And in this case, remember, it's get shared preferences. And we pass in the key that we used. Now, in this case, I'm just calling it my app preferences. This would be the perfect place to use a shared string resource, because here I'm just from memory going, oh yeah, I'm just going to copy paste. Here it is. You're going to run into a lot of problems if you do it this way, because you'll make mistakes and you'll mistype it, and you'll forget, you'll misspell it, and then you'll have a bug and you won't know why, and you'll be looking around and you'll blame me because I didn't do it in my video. But you're smart enough, you're going to do it. All right, context is mode private. Okay, we now have our reference. Now we're going to say I want the string, which is fav color, which equals shared preferences dot get string. And again, here I am ignoring my own advice. We say favorite color, and then remember, if this doesn't exist, we need to return a default value, and the default value we're just going to say unknown. And then finally we have our text view. Whoops, it did that again. I tabbed too quickly. I pressed undo, which is Command Z or Alt Z or Control Z to undo on a Windows machine. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to press Command Z to undo. So now text view equals, and then cast this to the text. Whoops, I did it again. That sounds like a song. Anyway, cast it to there, and we say find view by ID. We're going to say r.id. And we called this color text view. Remember, in our activity main, and we select this guy here, and we called it color text view. You can also look in your text in the XML itself and then see the ID is color text view. Awesome. Let's go back. And remember, we just set text. This is all stuff you've done. You know this, you've already done it already because I'm too slow. Set text and fav color. All right. Let's go ahead and run this and see how it goes. Okay, so we say set color, and the color is blue. Perfect. Now, this is one way to use shared preferences between activities. Obviously, there there's a better way if you're passing data where you're saying, and we've done this before, where we put extra with an intent. This is slightly different. Here we're referencing a saved preference. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. We're referencing a shared preference that is saved to the device, that if I were to launch into this activity from another activity, for example, and I was checking for a saved preference, then I could go ahead and find that. In this example, I'm just making it a simple process where from the main activity, I'm saving the preference and then launching the intent. But you can see how this would be valuable so that across your entire app, you could have a My App Preferences file that you save various values to, and then as you need them, you can pull from it. All right, I hope you found this helpful. Be sure to subscribe and look for more videos.